So after the recent revelations of the Afghanistan paper, Tulsi Gabbard has decided she is done with the talking. It is time for action. Let's talk about it. What's going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning into this segment of Mika Says Sukasa, and I am your humble host, Niko House. So, as most of you all know, the Afghanistan papers have dropped, and they released some, I guess you could call them bombshells, but by bombshells, I mean you could see the bombs coming from 200 miles away, because we've literally been saying this about Afghanistan forever. You didn't have to give me any information for me to know a lot of the revelations that had taken place in the Afghanistan papers. But nonetheless, it is still important that we address a very significant issue, with probably the most significant issue with all of this. Has anybody been put in jail for what the hell took place? Has anybody been questioned? Has anybody been held accountable for what's taking place? And the answer so far is no. However, Tulsi Gabbard hopes to change that. In an interview that she had with Sagar and Crystal Ball on The Hill Rising, more specifically, she discusses her feelings about what took place with the Afghanistan papers. Let's check it out.
After a Saudi national opened fire at a naval base in Pensacola, Florida last week, many, including Crystal and myself, have spoken out about the poor handling of the matter by President Trump. Presidential candidate Tulsi Gabbard has long held that the U.S.-Saudi alliance isn't good for our country, and this weekend she also was asked this question.
After a Saudi lieutenant carried out a terrorist attack in Pensacola that killed 3 service members and left 8 others injured, why is the President of the United States and his Secretary of State acting as the spokesperson for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia?
And this week's Washington Post revelation that the war in Afghanistan was not as presented and to the public has been misled for years about it. It's also, as Gabbard once again calling for an end to what she said, endless wars. And Congresswoman Gabbard joins us now via Skype to talk about both of these very important issues. Welcome back to the show, Congresswoman. It's great to see you.
Great to see you.
Good to see you guys.
Absolutely. So first, I mean, your reaction to this Washington Post story. It details the systematic lying to the American people for almost 2 decades by many of the senior-most U.S. officials involved in the Afghan war. How would you deal with this as president? I've said that there should be congressional inquiry and at least some sort of investigation into these matters. What is your reaction to that news, and how would you deal with it?
Well, first of all, I'm putting legislation in to call for a congressional inquiry. There has to be accountability for the lying and the wasting of American taxpayer dollars. What to speak of those families whose loved ones were killed in that war, who never got to say their final goodbye, who welcomed their son or daughter, brother or sister, husband or wife home at Dover Air Force Base in a coffin, draped with an American flag. The cost of this war and these regime change wars and the nation building that follows is immeasurable in many ways, but it's measurable in the ways that have been detailed in that Washington Post report. We've known for so long that it is the military-industrial complex, contractors, consultants like McKinsey, who are profiting off of this scam that has ripped off the American taxpayer dollars of over $1 trillion just in Afghanistan alone. So, look.
All right. So, first of all, there's a few things to unpack here. I want to say this first and foremost. As far as Tulsi introducing legislation to start a congressional inquiry into the Afghanistan papers and the events that took place, if you want to know why the establishment unanimously attacks Tulsi Gabbard, why they are so desperate to prevent her from becoming the president of the United States of America, this is why. I remember there was a question asked to Tulsi in a town hall. They said, what happens if you figure out that this person or these people had participated in war crimes and they were found guilty, or there was some evidence proving this? Would you hold them accountable? And then she straight up said, you've been following me for a while, right? And they're like, yeah, of course. They're like, what do you think? In other words, there is no one really talking about a necessary step in the healing process of our democracy and really the recouping of our image to the rest of the world. We can have great domestic policy. We can even end all the wars right now. We can end all of our conflicts, all of our international involvement, our military involvement, right now. However, if there is no accountability, if there is no justice for those who have been done wrong, then there is absolutely no way that we can, in good conscience, pretend as if everything is all well and good, because it isn't. Right or wrong. Now, obviously, with accountability comes jail time, comes fines, comes demotions, comes, if you're in the military, you're going to be chaptered, you might be court-martialed, or you might sit if you're an officer, you'll be on an Article 32 hearing. Basically, that ivory tower that Tulsi talked about in her announcement in Hawaii when she announced for president, it will be burned to the ground. The money stops. Not only do the people who committed these acts, not only would they be held accountable, but anyone who had hoped after, playing ball for so long that they would be able to benefit from this charade of a war, or just the military-industrial complex in general, they're no longer going to be able to do that. And all the things that they have participated in, they'll be held accountable for as well. That is why Tulsi is the most dangerous to the establishment. And they know this. And it isn't just the domestic establishment that is terrified of her. It is the foreign policy establishment that she discusses so very often. When the next thing I want to discuss is why accountability is so important as far as to the American people. Y'all know who Wesley Snipes is, right? There's an ongoing joke. It isn't funny, but it's an ongoing joke about Wesley Snipes and his taxes, right? Wesley Snipes ended up in jail for not paying his taxes. MC Hammer, I think he went through a very similar situation. There are a lot of people who have gone to jail for tax evasion or not paying taxes. Weirdly enough, they all seem to be black, even though black people are not the only ones who avoid paying taxes. That's a different discussion for a different day. We're not going to get into that right now. But Wesley Snipes didn't kill a soul, unless we're counting everybody he killed in Blade. Didn't hurt anybody physically. You're supposed to pay your taxes, and he should have paid them. But he ended up in jail for not paying his taxes, for essentially, to a degree, a minor degree, defrauding the government, right? We were being told we had to pay our taxes with the amount of money we made. He made a certain amount of money. He was supposed to pay a certain amount of money. He did not do what the rest of the American people did to keep this society alive and well. And he was held accountable for this. I'm not saying he shouldn't have been held accountable for this, but what I am saying is that I find it interesting that the American government can literally launder our taxpayer dollars. They can defraud U.S. taxpayers. And this is a story that just now gets released. Now, granted, it was like a 3-year lawsuit for the attempt to release these, so in the defense of the Washington Post there. However, there should have been more whistleblowers about this, in my opinion. And every single person who signed and authorized and demanded there was one of the questions, one of the revelations of the Afghanistan Papers, a contractor was told by a government official to spend $3 million a day in Afghanistan. A day. What could your city do with $3 million a day? What could your county do with $3 million a day? And then the person who was told the contractor who was told to spend this money, he asked the congressperson, could you spend responsibly $3 million a day in your own district? He said, no, hell no. But that's what you're asking me to do here. So, of course, it became a kleptocracy, as described in the Washington Post article. But once again, Wesley Snipes and the others who were put in jail for tax evasion. They didn't steal from anybody. They just didn't hold up their end of the bargain, you know, the social contract and all that good stuff. And yet these people literally participated in a kleptocracy and they were getting a salary to steal money from us. Like, that's basically what it boils down to. And it's interesting to me that no other candidate and seemingly almost no other major nationally recognized politician has demanded accountability, not just spoke about it, like not just, oh man, this sucks, we shouldn't be doing this. Not like, oh, it's I'm anti-war and I've said that. No, damn all that foo-foo, lovey-dovey, peace and unity bullshit. There's a time for that. This is a time for accountability. Trillions have been wasted. Thousands of lives have been lost. And then the revelations in the Afghanistan papers also revealed we killed 40,000 Taliban while we were there. You know, at that time, 40,000 Taliban. Here's the problem with that. As much as I know that we're not supposed to like Taliban, as much as I know that they at large are just a bad group of people. In the words of Tulsi Gabbard, the Taliban were not the ones who attacked us on 9/11, and there was absolutely no reason for us to kill 40,000 Taliban fighters. And do you think that probably had something to do with how much more the situation became unstable in Afghanistan as our presence there increased? Because you're killing people who were shooting at you because you're in the country that you should have never been in. Right? That's basically what's taking place here. You're killing the Taliban because they're firing at you because before we used to have a deal with them. Then we were trying to establish some type of government entity in Afghanistan, which we had no business doing. It isn't our country. And then it turns out, once again, as revealed in the Afghanistan papers, and I quote, this was Donald Rumsfeld who said this, and I quote, "We have no idea who the bad guy is." Bro, what? So you're literally killing any and everybody is the moral of the story. That's what's taking place. And so far, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, by the way, Tulsi is the only one not just, giving us those nice little words that are, oh my God, she spoke out. She spoke out. It's cool. I like it when Tulsi speaks out. I do. But damn all the speaking out stuff. The thing that made me endorse Tulsi wasn't speaking out. It was the action that followed the words. And so far, she is the only one demanding action, demanding accountability. And once again, this particular action refortifies why I believe that there's only one person to be the commander-in-chief, that is qualified to be the commander-in-chief. The presidency does have a domestic component, but it's like 20 to maybe 30% at max domestic, like as far as how much control and influence you have over it. But in reality, if Tulsi Gabbard was president, that money wouldn't have been spent. If today's Tulsi Gabbard was president, that money would have never been spent. If Tulsi Gabbard does become president, we do know that there will be accountability. We do know that. And that's why I endorsed her. Because it's more than just speaking out. It's more than just being, because everybody's imperfect, right? Every politician is imperfect. But where you get it right, are you getting it all the way right? Is it a principled stance or is it a political one? A politically expedient one where you think you might gain some brownie points? Because it's easy to speak out. That's how you get brownie points. Speaking out is how you get brownie points. However, accountability is how you get thrown under the bus eventually. And even understanding this reality, Tulsi is still demanding that accountability. It says a lot about her character. It says a lot about who she is. I would love to know what your thoughts are about this. Leave a like in the comment below. Make sure you share the video. If you have not yet, consider becoming a patron on Patreon. You can donate as little as $1. You can click on the link in the description below to do that. But hey, more than anything else, ladies and gentlemen, always remember, Find your balance. Peace. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell if you like that segment of Mikasa Sukasa. Of course, if YouTube is giving you trouble, as it always does, you can download the Rockfin app and follow us there. Also, if you want to continue to help our show grow, you can help us reach our goal of 500 patrons on Patreon and donate as little as $1. Really, anything helps. Other than that, always remember, people, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.